Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin 15. I am your host, Peter Beckstrand, alongside, as always, my co-host, Peter Christensen. Gonzo, what a week. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just want to remind everyone out there to, if they've been enjoying these videos, please give us a like. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to just lead us right into the good stories of the week. We're trying to hit that 15-minute mark, so we're going to run right into it here. First story, looks like Mastercard has plans in 2021 to allow vendors to accept payments in digital currencies. They weren't specific, but we got to think that's Bitcoin. 2 weeks ago, it was Visa talking about it. Last week, it was PayPal. Now it's Mastercard. As we predicted, the competitors would keep coming. Otherwise, they get left behind. Story out of Charlottesville, Virginia. There's a bank that is now going to allow their customers to buy and sell Bitcoin at their ATMs. Pretty cool. First in the US, as we know, or that we know of at least.
Yep.
Then a story, Chain Analysis is a blockchain analytics firm I read, and they have done a study and reported that Bitcoin is being used for criminal related transactions about only 0.3% of the time. So that we are putting in the good news, because everyone tries to dismiss Bitcoin as something that's only used by criminals. So we see that that's not true. And then a story we've been following for a few weeks now, the city of Miami their mayor's been big on Bitcoin. He's been promoting it, trying to make Bitcoin or the city of Miami his name is Francis Suarez. He's been trying to make Miami kind of the leader in being pro Bitcoin in the United States. And it's official. They're going to start allowing their city employees to be paid in Bitcoin, residents to pay taxes and fees in Bitcoin, and the city's treasury will even hold Bitcoin. So those are our stories. Peter, I'd love to get your reaction to those stories.
Yeah, thanks for that. The Mastercard ties kind of back into that PayPal conversation we talked about last week. So it just looks like more chips are stacking in the Bitcoin or if the cryptocurrency. Well, since this B15, we'll focus on Bitcoin. Bitcoin favored. This backing by big major players is always a good thing. The Charlottesville Bank, the first in the U.S. First one that like I said, that we know of, also good. I mean, I've even Googled, there's some ATMs set up around ourselves that you could go and cash in, deposit and buy Bitcoin. But now it's good to see a bank is, they're not bank affiliated. They just kind of plug into different gas stations. So again, just tying into the Mastercard to the PayPal, an actual bank institute allowing to buy Bitcoins from their ATM is pretty cool. So I think we talked about this a little bit offline with the crypto crime on the decline. How do they know? I mean, it's great. It's good, great, grand. But how are they getting these numbers? If it's security, privacy that Bitcoin kind of totes and that we all embrace, how would they know what is being used for the good and the bad purchases? But it does fare well for all those top leaders, top people are maybe the SEC or the European Bank that talk about the bad side of Bitcoin that doesn't seem to really be going on based on the numbers. And when we pack in our bags and move to Miami, they're the future. They're embracing it. Good for them. And like I think I said offline too, even New York Mayor hopeful Andrew Yang is trying to say, hey, we're going to be the hub for Bitcoin. But I don't know, Miami's got a really big jump on you, New York City. So it's always good to see these cities take some kind of bold strategies, but rooted with some kind of facts and some stability that is Bitcoin, at least for the short term here. So yeah, crazy. Good to see. We kind of segue into the bad for the week. There hasn't been too many stories about the bad. I mean, I guess the only bad thing that happened recently was that I was one day away from saying, hey, we're going to hit 45. And then I said it last week. And then the 24 hours later, Elon Musk does his $1.5 billion buy into Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden we were at 45 and now we're closer to 50K, which is great. But some of the some of the bad always go back to government regulations that we've talked about before. And these are kind of two that we saw. One going to the Bank of Canada saying Bitcoin has no plausible claim to be the money of the future. That was a tweet off of Documenting Bitcoin that you'll find in the link below. But there's some other ones that like Yahoo also linked to one talking about crypto. The crypto boom is all speculative. But I think what we're seeing after reading some of these articles and discussing is that they're all trying to spin it their own way and to talk about their own crypto potentially coming forward. So we know that they've looked at stable coins. Canada has talked about getting into crypto, but maybe their own backing from their own bank system. So I think in their eyes, they're trying to put out a little bit of the fire that is Bitcoin and say, hey, that's not as trustworthy. Wait till we kind of come out with one. Trust us. We're the government. We've never led you wrong before. So that was one of the bad, and then one of the other bad ones we've kind of talked about before, but in the intent on the ban, India's going through with it, but at least they're giving time for these investors and of crypto in India to get out maybe over the next 3 to 6 months. But it might buy them more time to revert this, but it looks like they're going forward with the overall ban of cryptocurrency. And again, they're trying to back their own bank cryptocurrency that they're still in development. So what are your thoughts on those kind of two bad articles for the week, Gonzo?
Well, I think in our pre-show prep, we discussed the India story a little bit. It's the 3 to 6 months. I think if you're a citizen of India and you're already holding crypto, you put it in cold storage so they can't detect it and just hold on until they change course, because they're going to change course eventually. They give you 3 to 6 months. Hopefully they change their mind before there's actually consequences for breaking that law. But even if you're forced to break the law, just put it in cold storage, hide it, move out of there, or well, seriously, like just consider moving, and I know that's not an option for everyone, so I don't want to oversimplify the complex situation, but if the government is issuing you only currency that can't hold value at all, it's your right, I think, to find a way to work around that, and Bitcoin offers a solution to that. Then the Canada story, it's similar to, thank goodness they haven't tried to ban anything, but it's similar to when the Nigeria story last week. They banned banks from doing Bitcoin transactions, and they're trying to issue their own digital currencies. This is going to be the move by a lot of central banks. They're not oblivious to what's going on here. Yeah, they know that they're losing power, and so they think that if they have a tokenized version of their fiat, that'll be their way to get into the space and create. Like, they'll think we're all stupid that, once it's a tokenized or digital version of that's the same thing as crypto. No, it's not. And important, a digital version of fiat is still fiat. It's not the same thing. Bitcoin offers a decentralized hard money that cannot be just printed into oblivion. These digital currencies are actually going to just make it easier to debase those fiats more when they'll be buying up, putting more things on their balance sheet, these central banks, or it'll be that much easier to do universal basic income and just give to the people, which in times like this can be a good short-term thing so people can pay their bills, so then they don't get too restless. But in the long term, it just erodes their buying power. And so that's why we're proponents of something hard that'll hold value, like real assets, specifically on this show, of course, Bitcoin, because we know it's scarce. So unless you have any other thoughts, we can roll into our story of the week, I think.
No, let's roll into them.
So the interesting, as we call it, our story of the week, and it kind of is on the same topic, similar to that, but in this case, we're talking about the Central Bank of Kenya. They've officially announced that they are going to hold Bitcoin as a reserve currency in their central bank. And as far as we know, I believe that is the first central bank in the world that's actually announcing this. I have seen, though, before that the U.S. government holds Bitcoin in some way, so I'm guessing there's other governments hold it. So maybe it's not the first, but they're publicly recognizing it as a reserve currency instead of just kind of like a novelty. And my reflection on this story is, they recognize that their currency is being debased. Nigeria this week also, they banned it last week, but their authorities in their central banking system acknowledging that Bitcoin is rendering their fiat currency. I forget what it's called, and I think it's the Kenyan shilling. I forget what it is in Nigeria, but they're recognizing that they're blaming Bitcoin. They're saying, it's rendering our currencies valueless and useless. Well, that's not really what's happening. It's just that Bitcoin holds value, so people are turning to it as an alternative. You printing endless amounts of it is what's making it valueless and useless, and people are looking for something they can hang on to and store their value, because they work hard to earn the money they get, and it's not fair if the government steals from them by just printing more. And I think my big overall takeaway from this is it's almost like a revolution or a social justice movement, and we're not a political podcast here at all, but if it's actually the weaker economies, the citizens of weaker economies and these weaker nations that are going to have to turn to Bitcoin as reserve currencies instead of other fiats. Whereas if you have stronger fiat, if you're the US, if you're the Fed, if you're the European Central Bank, if you're in the UK, your fiats, they hold value a lot better than other crappy fiats like in Nigeria and Kenya. But it's the weaker ones, or like in Argentina, you can only turn to something that'll hold value like Bitcoin, and they're the early adapters. So they're going to be the ones who actually benefit big time when everything goes that way eventually. And as we kind of say, the dominoes keep falling one by one, and this is just a big step. And in terms of bold stances, when we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, my bold stance is we're going to see a lot of countries following in Kenya's footsteps here, and good for Kenya for being on the leading edge of it. So,
yeah, isn't it crazy? It's only February in 2021, and yet it feels like there's so much change that has happened over like the last 45 days in 2021. Maybe the global pandemic was maybe the conversation, the topic in 2020, but it seems like Bitcoin, at least since Q4, and has made this run. But it just seems it's becoming more mainstream. And so when you have these places like Nigeria, where their senator said that the Bitcoin has made, like you said, the Nigerian currency useless and valueless. It's funny that they didn't say like our own central banking systems, just behaviors over the last X amount of years has made our policies have made the Nigerian currency useless and powerless. It's just trying to shift blame where you're right. The countries that realize that the countries that have realized that their own currency really maybe can't go on, or that it's been failing for the X amount of years, are embracing it, and they'll be set up for success in the future. So it's great to see. It's also great to see, going back to some of the good articles that we discussed too, of the U.S. cities that are doing it, but it'd be nice to see just the powers that be in the central banking system and the government take a little bit bigger stance on Bitcoin for the future, because that would, I feel, would help just legitimize it even for some of these other nations, but good for some of these other quote unquote smaller currency nations to start embracing it and hopefully see the positive sides of it instead of maybe some of the negatives that they've seen with their own currencies and their own policies for the last X amount of years. Anything else really? I mean, they kind of talk back and forth together, but it's good to see. I mean, Kenya's been doing it for a long time, but it's good to see that they're even recognizing it more.
I think to sum up Kenya's stance on this is kind of like, if you can't beat them, join them. And
yeah,
I think Nigeria, they're recognizing what's happening, but they haven't quite leaned into it the way Kenya has. They're going to start seeing, other countries are going to start seeing the success Kenya will have from this. And it's just going to go one by one. And they're all going to start saying, we can't beat Bitcoin, let's join them. And the sooner you join, the more, you'll benefit later.
Let's hope the U.S. does that.
Yeah. The U.S., since it is considered the global reserve currency, is going to be one of the last holdouts, I would guess, because we're in the strongest position when we control the main source of fiat for the world. So that's why it's going to be, that's why I'm saying it's almost like a revolution. It's going to be those that are in more desperate situation that are going to want to embrace the new solution. And it's the ones that are already in a current stronger position that aren't going to want to embrace it. But people like Mayor Suarez in Miami doesn't care. He's like, we're still going to be forward thinking. And if Andrew Yang's one of those people too, good for him. So if you're asked, I want to just plug then, like, if you have another thought on this, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to.
Let's go B15, B16. Let's as fast as we can go.
Yeah. So if you're kind of wondering, like, some of these terms we're using, we introduced this a week ago, but you may be new to the channel. We're launching a new series called B15 Basics. We had 3 episodes there last week. It was what is Bitcoin? What is a fiat currency? What is a Satoshi? This week, we're going to have what is a central bank? We're going to have what is blockchain? And we're going to have what is a reserve currency. And those are some terms. We touched on some of them today. If you're asking what are those, these are 3-minute videos that give quick summaries of some of these terms we use a lot on this channel. We started the series last week. They'll air Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And please give those a watch too. You can learn more and you'll understand what Beckstrom and I are talking about on these episodes. Anyhow, thanks for being with us. Please hit that like button. Please give us a subscribe, comment, tell friends and family about this show if they're interested in this topic. Beckstrom, give you the last word once again.
Bold last word is by the end of, let's say end of Q1, we will see it go up to 60K as more out of the 8,000. I think I said 1,500, almost 8,000 confirmed that joined MicroStrategy. And I am now friends with Michael Saylor on LinkedIn. So I'm riding this thing to the moon. Let's go. But I'm saying 60K by end of Q1 as people turn over their books and get into maybe an April timeline.
Let's do it.
Here.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
See you next week.